There's a moment you never forget. The precise second you realize you're not just lonely, but alone, and worse, unwanted. It was a Thursday night. Nothing extraordinary. Just the same routine I'd been stuck in for the past few years. Madison, my wife, was lying in bed beside me, the soft glow from her tablet screen casting shadows across her face. She didn't even look up as I slid into bed. "Hey," I said, brushing my fingers lightly across her shoulder. I wasn't expecting fireworks, just something. A smile, a glance. Some indication that I still existed to her. "Hey," she replied flatly, still scrolling. I stared at the ceiling for a moment, then turned toward her, inching closer until our legs touched beneath the sheets. My hand moved gently across her waist. She didn't flinch. She didn't even seem to notice. "Madison," I said, softer this time. "Can we maybe tonight?" It had been over 3 weeks. I remembered because the last time we'd had sex, it felt more like a mercy gesture than anything remotely passionate. I missed the way she used to touch me. Look at me. Want me. But tonight, just like the last 10 or so, her answer came cold and quick. "Not tonight. I'm tired." I knew what came next. The turn. The tug of the blanket. The invisible wall. And there it was. I lay there, stunned by how familiar this feeling had become. This wasn't rejection anymore. It was routine. A cruel kind of muscle memory. I exhaled slowly and rolled onto my back, staring up at the ceiling fan spinning overhead, slicing the silence into pieces. "Okay," I said. But I knew she was already gone, mentally, emotionally, and increasingly, physically. There was no fight, no argument, just a quiet surrender that had become all too comfortable for both of us. Eventually, her breathing shifted into that rhythmic softness that told me she'd fallen asleep. I envied that peace. Mine was gone. I slid out of bed, careful not to disturb her, and padded into the kitchen. The clock read 12:14 a.m. I stood there in the dark, just listening to the hum of the fridge. Even that sound felt more alive than our bedroom had in months. I poured a glass of whiskey and sat at the counter. The ice clinked, a sharp, bitter melody. I wasn't sure what hurt more, her lack of desire, or the fact that I wasn't even angry about it anymore. Just numb. I thought about what we used to be. The late-night laughs. The way she used to crawl on top of me just because she couldn't wait. The sex. God, the sex used to be so raw, so real. Now I couldn't even remember the last time she touched me like she wanted me. We'd become something hollow. Polite strangers playing married in the shell of a once vibrant home. I wondered if she was fantasizing about someone else. Maybe some coworker she spent too many hours with. Maybe no one. Maybe I just didn't do it for her anymore, and she didn't have the heart or courage to tell me. My phone buzzed. A work email. I ignored it. I picked up my glass again, ice mostly melted now. The drink went down smoother, or maybe I was just more desperate to feel something. Anything. I went outside to the porch, sat on the steps, and let the cold night air bite at my skin. It reminded me I was alive. From behind me, through the bedroom window, the light from Madison's tablet finally dimmed. I imagined her turning over, cocooning herself in blankets, perfectly content in her separate world. There was a time when I thought love was about growing together, building a life, weathering storms. But no one tells you what to do when the storm never ends, when it's not some explosive betrayal, but a slow erosion of touch, glance, desire. That's the part that breaks you. I didn't want to cheat. I didn't want to leave. I just wanted my wife back. But what happens when she's already gone? Somewhere behind me, a floorboard creaked. I turned, startled, expecting maybe Madison had come looking for me. But it wasn't her. It was Riley, her younger sister. She was living with us temporarily while looking for a new apartment. 26, flirty, a little wild, but smart. Too smart. And too observant. "Can't sleep?" she asked softly. I swallowed hard and nodded, avoiding her eyes. She was wearing one of those oversized t-shirts that somehow made everything more visible than if she were naked. Her legs were bare, long, smooth. I looked away. She stepped out onto the porch beside me, silent at first, then said, "She does that a lot, huh?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She sat down a few steps below me, hugging her knees to her chest. I caught a quick glance of something I shouldn't have seen. A flash of lace beneath the hem. I turned my gaze to the night sky. "You deserve more than this," she said softly. "You really do." I didn't know how to respond. Her voice carried weight. Not flirtatious. Just sincere. "I'm going to bed," she said after a pause. But if you ever want to talk, I'm here. I nodded. Night, Jake. And then she was gone, barefoot on the steps, disappearing like a whisper. I didn't move for a long time, because deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. The next morning, Madison was already gone by the time I woke up. Typical. She'd left early for her Saturday yoga class, a routine she never missed, though she hadn't invited me in years. Not since the days when we used to share green smoothies and pretend we were one of those healthy couples who had their lives together. That felt like a past life now. I lingered in bed longer than usual. The sheets still held her scent, faint lavender, laundry detergent, and something I couldn't place anymore. Not warmth. Not love. Just routine. I dragged myself out of bed and made coffee, the kind she hated. Dark roast, no cream, no sugar. Bitter. Just like me, I thought. Riley appeared sometime around noon, barefoot and groggy, wearing one of Madison's tank tops. It clung to her figure too well to be accidental. I looked away before my eyes could linger. "Mornin'," she said with a yawn, stretching in the doorway. Her stomach showed just a sliver beneath the hem. It wasn't the kind of thing you were supposed to notice about your wife's younger sister. But I did. "Afternoon, technically," I replied, trying to stay casual, sipping my coffee. She patted across the kitchen, hips swaying, and grabbed a mug from the cabinet. "Madison leave already?" I nodded. "Yoga." Riley made a face. "Right. I'm better than everyone because I stretch in overpriced leggings cult." I laughed more than I should have. "You really don't like her, do you?" Riley turned, leaned against the counter, and raised an eyebrow. "You love her?" That stopped me cold. "I mean, yeah, of course," I said, a little too quickly. "We're married." Riley gave a small shrug and sipped her coffee. "Being married doesn't mean anything. People stay married for 1,000 reasons that have nothing to do with love." I didn't answer. What could I say? That I still loved the woman who hadn't touched me in nearly a month? That I was clinging to the ghost of who she used to be? That silence lingered between us as Riley slowly walked closer and stopped at the edge of the kitchen island, eyes fixed on mine. Her voice dropped, low and soft. "What if I said right now?" I blinked. "What?" She stepped closer, almost in a whisper now. "What if I said, I want you, right now, right here?" I froze. My grip on the mug tightened. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. "Riley," I said quietly, warningly, but not moving. She smiled, but it wasn't playful, it was knowing. Like she could see right through me. "You think I don't notice how you look at me? You think I haven't seen the way you hesitate when I walk by in just a towel?" My throat was dry. I'm not. "It's okay," she interrupted, stepping closer. We were inches apart now. "I look at you too." I backed away, bumping into the fridge. "Riley, this is insane. You're Madison's sister." She leaned in slightly, her breath warm against my neck. "And Madison's not here. She's never really here, is she?" I closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. The air between us was electric. Dangerous. "Stop," I whispered. She didn't. Her hand grazed my chest. Just a touch, barely there, but it lit my skin on fire. Every nerve screamed for more. But I forced myself to step away, breaking the moment. "I can't do this," I said, almost to myself. "This isn't right." Riley's smile faded, replaced with something unreadable. She nodded, slowly, backing off. "Okay," she said, voice calm. "But just so you know, I meant it." And with that, she turned and walked back to the hallway, her hips swaying with the confidence of a woman who'd just planted a seed and knew it would grow. I stood there, stunned, breath shallow, heart racing. What the hell just happened? The rest of the day was a haze. I cleaned the garage. I mowed the lawn. I tried like hell to avoid being in the house while Madison was gone and Riley was there. Somewhere. Upstairs. In the shower at one point. Singing. Loudly. Badly. And all I could picture was the water sliding down her body. God help me. When Madison came home, she barely said a word. She kissed my cheek like a roommate, scrolled on her phone for an hour, then took a nap before dinner. Riley, of course, wasn't around during those moments. Like she knew not to overlap with her sister. That night, Madison claimed a headache and went to bed early. Surprise. I stayed downstairs on the couch, half watching some show I didn't care about, nursing a beer. I told myself I was staying up to enjoy peace and quiet. But in truth, I was avoiding her. Both of them. It was after midnight when I heard footsteps. Riley. She was wearing shorts, tiny ones, and an old college t-shirt that hung off one shoulder. She didn't speak at first, just sat on the opposite end of the couch, folding her legs beneath her. "You avoiding me now?" she asked. I stared at the blank TV screen, then at her. "I'm trying to do the right thing." She tilted her head. "And is the right thing making you feel any better?" That silence again. "Thought so," she whispered. The air shifted. She moved slightly closer. Not enough to touch, just to close the distance. I could smell her shampoo. Something fruity. Something warm. "Why do you stay with her?" Riley asked. I didn't answer. "Do you think she still loves you?" That one hurt. I didn't have an answer because I didn't know. "She doesn't see you anymore, Jake," she said softly. "But I do." I turned to her. Her eyes were big and blue and filled with something raw. Longing. Truth. "You don't know what you're doing," I said, trying to sound stronger than I felt. Her hand touched mine. "Yes," she whispered, "I do." And then she leaned in, lips barely an inch away. Her breath was warm, her body close. I stood up suddenly. "I need to go to bed," I muttered. "Yeah," she said, not angry, not surprised. "You should." But even as I walked up the stairs, I could feel her eyes on my back. I could feel my skin burn with the memory of her touch. That night, I lay awake again. Only this time, I wasn't thinking of Madison at all. It started with little things. Riley brushing past me in the hallway, her fingertips grazing the small of my back like it was nothing. Her choosing to stretch in front of the TV at night. Tight leggings, loose shirt, always braless. Her laugh, too loud, always directed a bit too warmly at me. And maybe it was all innocent. Maybe I was just seeing what I wanted to see. Or maybe I wasn't. Because I caught her watching me too, when she thought I wasn't looking. She'd tilt her head, eyes lingering a bit too long on my chest when I stepped out of the shower with a towel slung low. She'd bite her lip when I bent to pick something up. That wasn't my imagination. That was intent. But it was the text that changed everything. The first one came late. I was in bed, next to Madison, who was fast asleep, curled into herself like always. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. "Riley, can't sleep. You still awake?" I hesitated. I shouldn't answer. I knew that. But I did. "Mia? What's up?" "Riley, nothing really. Just thinking about things I probably shouldn't." I stared at the screen for a full minute before typing anything. "Me, like what?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then came back. And then she sent a photo. Not nudes. Not even lingerie. But somehow worse. Intimate. Vulnerable. It was Riley lying in bed, hair spread out like a halo on her pillow, just a thin strap of her tank top showing her bare shoulder. Her eyes were soft. Her lips parted. The caption underneath read, "Wish this was your side of the bed instead." I didn't sleep that night. After that, it escalated fast. She texted more often. Late-night questions. Emojis with double meanings. Memes that were borderline dirty. Voice notes when she was clearly tipsy, saying things like, "You ever wonder what would have happened if we met first?" And, "She doesn't even see you anymore." But I do. Always have. The worst part? I started craving it. Not just the attention, but her. I'd find excuses to linger in the kitchen when she was there. I'd replay her voice notes when Madison was out. I'd imagine what it would feel like to slide my hands down her back while she whispered my name. I told myself I was just starved, neglected, that this wasn't really cheating, just flirting. But deep down, I knew I was lying. And that lie got harder to maintain the longer it went on. Madison noticed none of it. She was too busy, too distracted. Work trips, friend dinners, yoga retreats, sex, still a ghost. She never looked at me like Riley did, never reached for me, or even noticed me. She was there, technically, but only in the way a chair or a lamp is there. Present, but not with you. And yet, the guilt sat in my chest like a weight. I told myself I had to pull back. So I did. I stopped responding to Riley's texts for a few days. Didn't linger in the kitchen. Didn't say goodnight when she walked past in one of her skin-bearing pajamas. I thought it would fade. Thought she'd give up. But Riley wasn't that kind of woman. One night, after Madison had gone upstairs with one of her ever-present headaches, I stayed on the couch watching an old movie just to avoid thinking. Riley came in with a bowl of popcorn and dropped beside me. She didn't speak, just started watching, chewing quietly. After a few minutes, she pulled the blanket off the armrest and tossed it over us both. My breath caught. Her thigh was pressed against mine. "You mad at me?" she asked softly. "No," I replied. "You've been avoiding me." I stared at the screen. I can't. She turned toward me. Can't what? Riley, I said, firm but low. This thing, whatever it is, it's dangerous. It's wrong. Is it? She whispered. Or is it just real, and that scares you? I turned to face her, and for the first time, I saw it clearly. This wasn't just a game to her. Her eyes were filled with something deeper. Raw need. Longing. You make me feel like I matter, she continued. Like I'm not invisible. Like I'm worth something. That's not fair, I said. You're Madison's sister. And Madison doesn't give a damn about you. That hurt because it rang true. She reached for my hand under the blanket and held it. I didn't pull away. I know you want me, she said. You think I don't feel how your body tenses when I'm near? You think I don't hear the way your breathing changes when I lean in? I closed my eyes. She doesn't see you, Jake. But I do. And I'm right here. I didn't kiss her, but I didn't move either. And for the first time in months, I fell asleep on that couch with someone beside me who made me feel like a man again. The next morning, everything was the same. But also, everything had changed. Madison was already out of the house. Riley was cooking breakfast like nothing had happened. She smiled at me when I walked in, soft, private, like we had a shared secret. Coffee, she asked. I nodded, still foggy. She handed me a mug, our fingers touching longer than necessary. My heart jumped. I like last night, she said under her breath, so quiet I almost missed it. Riley. I began, unsure what to say. She stepped close, brushing a crumb from my shirt. You don't have to say anything. Just don't lie to yourself anymore. She left the kitchen before I could respond. I stood there, alone again. Coffee steaming. Mind spinning. I knew I was already falling. And I didn't know how, or if, I wanted to stop. Madison left for her yoga retreat that Friday morning with the same clinical detachment she gave to everything else lately. Her suitcase clicked softly behind her as she wheeled it out the door, already dressed in her sleek black athletic wear, hair in a tight ponytail. I'll be back Sunday night, she said, not looking at me as she pulled open the front door. Don't forget to water the succulents in the kitchen window. Got it. She paused, eyes finally meeting mine. There was a flicker there, like she wanted to say something. But it passed. She turned and left without a goodbye kiss. The door shut behind her like punctuation. I watched her car pull out of the driveway, engine quiet as it faded down the street. And then the house was still. Just me. And Riley. She didn't appear right away. I spent the morning pacing the house like a man waiting for a bomb to go off, checking my phone, turning on the TV, turning it off again, trying to work up the nerve to go for a jog, but doing absolutely nothing. She finally came down around noon, her hair loose and wet from a shower, wearing a hoodie and short shorts that showed way too much leg for a house shared with her married sister and brother-in-law. You look like a guy waiting for his sentence, she said, walking into the kitchen. Feels about right, I muttered. She reached over to pour herself some coffee, giving me a full view of her smooth thigh peeking out from beneath the fabric. I looked away, but not fast enough. She noticed. Madison's gone, huh? I nodded. And you're still here. With me. Her voice dropped an octave. I cleared my throat. She's back Sunday. Plenty of time, she said. For what? Riley just smiled. That whole day was torture. She didn't try anything, not really. But the tension between us buzzed like static. She found reasons to linger near me. Sat too close on the couch. Brushed against my arm when she reached for the remote. She laughed at things I said that weren't funny. Her eyes held that look, for just a second too long every single time. I tried to busy myself, cleaning the garage, doing laundry, mowing the yard again even though it didn't need it. Anything to stay away from that house. From her. But eventually the sun dipped below the horizon and I found myself back in the kitchen. The house was quiet. My shirt was damp with sweat, and I leaned over the counter, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with physical work. And that's when I heard her behind me. You always work that hard when she's gone. I turned. Riley was standing in the doorway wearing nothing but a thin black tank top and cotton sleep shorts that didn't even try to hide the curve of her hips. Her hair was messy, her lips slightly parted. Jesus, Riley, I breathed, looking away. You can't just walk around like that. Why not? She asked, stepping closer. You're the only one here to see it. I'm not. I started, but trailed off. She took another step forward, closing the gap between us. Her voice was quiet, seductive. Jake, I dreamed about you last night. I froze. Her fingers found the edge of the counter, brushing mine. You were in my room. In my bed. And it wasn't just a dream. I could feel you. Riley. She stepped closer. Her body pressed lightly against mine. My breath caught in my throat. I think about you all the time, she whispered. I think about your hands, your mouth. Stop, I said, voice barely audible. Tell me you don't want me, she challenged. Look me in the eye and say it. I couldn't. Her lips were inches from mine. Just one kiss, she whispered. Just one. I need to know. I should have said no. I should have walked away. But I didn't. I leaned in. Our lips met. And the world stopped. It was soft at first, tentative. But when her fingers slid into my hair and she pressed herself against me, it ignited something I hadn't felt in years. Her mouth was warm, urgent, hungry. She kissed me like she'd been holding back for months. Like she needed me just to breathe. I kissed her back. Harder than I meant to. My hands gripped her waist. Her breath hitched. The kiss deepened, grew messier, hotter. My back hit the fridge and she pressed into me. And I could feel every inch of her, warm and soft and dangerous. And then I broke away, gasping. Shit, I whispered. What the hell are we doing? She was flushed, her lips parted, eyes wild. Don't stop, she said. I have to, I said, backing away. I can't. This is wrong. Madison's, Jesus, Riley. But she didn't look ashamed. She looked satisfied, like she had proved something. I've waited a long time for that, she said quietly. I stood frozen. My lips still tingled from her kiss. My body was shaking, not from fear, but from restraint. I wanted her. Badly. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. I'm going to bed, I said, barely above a whisper. She nodded, slowly. Okay, she said, voice soft. But you'll think about that kiss all night. She turned and walked away. And I did. I thought about it all night. Every damn second. I didn't leave the house the entire next day. I told myself it was because of the rain, but that wasn't true. The truth was, I was avoiding Riley, and maybe avoiding myself, too. I holed up in the study pretending to catch up on work, trying to bury the feel of her lips, her body, the sound of her voice whispering, "Don't stop." But it haunted me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, pressed against me, her mouth hungry and soft. The way she kissed me like we were the only two people left on earth. And worse, the way my body responded. Not like a man with a conscience. Not like a husband. But like someone starving who'd just had his first taste of food in weeks. Madison texted that evening from her retreat. Hope the house isn't too chaotic without me. I'll be back around 6 tomorrow. No heart. No, I miss you. Just logistics. Like a business memo. I stared at the screen for a while, then typed a reply. Everything's fine. Enjoy the rest of the trip. And hit send. A knock on the study door startled me. I looked up. It was Riley, barefoot, wearing an oversized sweater that hung off one shoulder, and nothing else underneath if the length of her legs was any sign. Hey, she said softly. I made pasta. I'm not hungry, I muttered. She didn't move. Just stood in the doorway, watching me. Can I come in? I think you should just, I trailed off. God, I was so tired of pretending I had control. She stepped in anyway, closing the door behind her. My heart rate spiked. I haven't been able to stop thinking about the kiss, she said. Have you? I swallowed hard. Riley, you're Madison's sister. This is already. She walked toward me slowly. Already what? A mistake? You keep saying that, but your body says something else. Jesus, I muttered, standing up. This isn't just some game. I know, she said, closer now. It's not a game to me. I backed toward the desk, her presence drawing me in like gravity. You don't know what you're doing. She placed a hand on my chest. I know exactly what I'm doing. And then she kissed me again. This time, I didn't resist. This time, I kissed her back like a man unraveling. My arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her in. She melted against me with a soft moan that lit something in my blood. My hand slid up her back, into her hair. She tasted like wine and cinnamon, and I couldn't get enough. We stumbled backward, knocking into the desk. Papers scattered. I lifted her onto the edge without thinking, her legs parting slightly, wrapping around my hips. The sweater slipped lower, revealing smooth, pale skin, a soft curve of breast, the barest hint of a nipple. My mouth found her neck, her collarbone. She gasped and arched into me. Jake, she breathed. God, I want you. Her words tore through me like fire. I should have stopped. I didn't. Her sweater came off, and there was nothing underneath. I stared, momentarily stunned by how beautiful and real she looked. Riley reached for my shirt, yanked it over my head, then ran her nails down my chest, biting her lip. "Tell me you don't want this," she whispered. "I can't," I said hoarsely. She pulled me into her again, and we crossed the line. It was frantic, desperate, reckless. We didn't make it to the bedroom. We didn't even try. It happened right there on the desk, skin to skin, her thighs around my waist, her breath in my ear, whispering my name like a prayer. I didn't feel guilt in that moment. I didn't feel fear. All I felt was wanted, needed, seen. When it was over, we lay tangled together, breathless and silent. Her fingers traced circles on my chest. "I've wanted that for so long," she murmured. I stared at the ceiling. "We can't do that again." She propped herself up on one elbow, looking at me. "Why not?" "Because it's wrong." Did it feel wrong? No, I admitted. But that's the problem. She leaned down and kissed my chest. "She doesn't deserve you." "I do." My stomach turned at those words. It wasn't just about the sex anymore. It was becoming something else, something deeper, and more dangerous. I pulled away gently, sitting up. "This can't happen again." She nodded slowly. "Okay." But the look in her eyes told me she didn't believe me. And worse, I wasn't sure I believed myself either. Madison came home on Sunday evening with a glowing smile, a new essential oils diffuser, and a hug that felt obligatory. I stood in the doorway while she wheeled her suitcase through the foyer like she hadn't been emotionally absent for months. "Miss me?" she asked, pecking me on the cheek before breezing past. Before I could answer, Riley appeared at the top of the stairs. She was wearing a hoodie and short gym shorts. No makeup, her hair tied up. Innocent, effortless. And she looked at me, not like a brother-in-law, but like a secret lover trying not to get caught. I looked away. Madison chattered about the retreat while unpacking. It was so cleansing. Honestly, I think I needed that reset. She tossed her yoga pants in the hamper like nothing had changed. Like she hadn't missed a damn thing. Like she hadn't left behind a husband who crossed a line he couldn't uncross. I nodded through her story, tried to act normal. But Riley was always there. In the kitchen, on the couch, moving through the house like a quiet flame licking at my conscience. And she didn't make it easy. If anything, she made it impossible. 2 nights after Madison returned, I woke up to find her already turned away, deep asleep, her body a continent apart from mine. I laid there in the dark, guilt thick in my chest, and slipped out of bed. The hallway was quiet. I walked past Riley's door, paused. My fingers grazed the handle. It opened. She was awake, lying on her side in bed, blanket tangled at her waist, eyes wide in the dark. She didn't say anything. She just lifted the covers. And I stepped in. It became a pattern. Not every night. Not enough to draw suspicion. But enough that I started living 2 separate lives. The dutiful husband in the daylight. The reckless lover after dark. Madison was none the wiser. Too busy with her new health cleanse, her friend group, her yoga schedules. But Riley noticed everything. She noticed the tension in my jaw when I ate dinner next to Madison. The quick glances we exchanged when passing each other in the hall. She noticed how fast I'd breathe when we touched beneath the sheets. How fast I pulled away when morning came. She noticed the way I started needing her. More than just the sex, which was, God, impossible to ignore. It was how she made me feel. Like I mattered. Like I was wanted. Her hands, her voice, her laughter, it all filled the growing hole inside me. And I couldn't deny it anymore. I was deep in it. One night, after a long session tangled in her sheets, Riley lay with her head on my chest and whispered, "Do you think about leaving her?" I froze. She tilted her chin up. "I'm not trying to scare you. I need to know where this is going." "I don't know," I said honestly. She nodded, but I saw the flicker of something in her eyes. Disappointment. Or maybe something worse, hope. "I can't keep being the secret forever," she said. I didn't respond. Because the truth was, I didn't know if I was ready to blow everything up. And yet, I couldn't stop going back to her. I tried to pull back. Once. Told her we should stop. She cried. Told me she didn't want to be some fling. Said she loved me. And maybe, in some twisted part of me, I loved her too. The thrill. The danger. The connection. But love? Real love? That was something else. The cracks started to show. One morning, over breakfast, Madison frowned at me from across the kitchen table. "You've been distracted lately." I looked up from my coffee. "Work's been stressful." She narrowed her eyes. "That's not it." "What is it then?" I asked, trying to sound annoyed instead of terrified. I don't know, she said, leaning back in her chair. But something feels off. Before I could answer, Riley walked in wearing one of my old hoodies and nothing else. Madison didn't seem to notice. But Riley did. She looked at me, directly into me, and smirked. I nearly choked on my coffee. That afternoon, she cornered me in the laundry room. She suspects something, I hissed. Riley just pressed her body against mine, biting her lower lip. Then maybe we should stop being so careful. This isn't a game, I snapped, but her fingers were already sliding under my shirt. I know it's not, she said. That's why I want more. I didn't answer, because she was right. This wasn't a game. It was a storm, and I was already too far in to find the way out. It started with small things. Riley began texting more often during the day. Not just flirty messages anymore, but clingy ones. What are you doing? Every hour. Are you thinking about me? Followed by a selfie in my hoodie, her lips in a slight pout. It was subtle at first. Cute, even. But then she started getting irritated when I didn't answer fast enough. One day, I was in a meeting and left my phone on the kitchen counter while I ran to the bathroom. When I came back, I had 13 unread texts from her. Where are you? Are you ignoring me? Jake? I know your phone is nearby. Answer me. Seriously, are you with Madison right now? That was the first time something in me shifted. This wasn't just an affair anymore. It was beginning to feel like a trap. That night, I tried to pull away again. We were in her room, tangled in sheets, the afterglow fading into awkward quiet. I sat up, rubbing my face. We need to slow down, I said. She turned on her side, the blanket sliding down to expose her bare chest, and gave me that soft, dangerous smile. You always say that after. I'm serious, I said. It's getting too messy. Madison's noticing things. You're texting me all the time. It's not sustainable. Her smile faded. So what? You want to go back to being ignored? To lying in bed next to a woman who doesn't even look at you? I winced. You think she'll ever give you what I give you? She continued. She doesn't want you. She barely even sees you. She's still my wife. And I'm the one who actually wants you, she snapped. I don't just tolerate you, Jake. I need you. She sat up then, naked and unashamed, her eyes burning into mine. I love you. The words landed like a punch. I'm not saying it to scare you, she whispered. I mean it. I can't, I started. I don't expect you to say it back. Yet, she interrupted. But don't lie to yourself. You feel it too. I see it every time you look at me. I couldn't deny it. I had looked at her like that. I had felt that rush, that intensity, that pull I hadn't felt in years. But love? This wasn't love. This was lust dipped in loneliness and desperation. Still, I kissed her again that night. Hard. Desperate. Like I needed to prove something. To her, to myself. And afterward, as she curled into me, possessive and sweet, I stared at the ceiling, more trapped than ever. The next week was a war zone of tension. Riley started picking fights over little things. You didn't reply to my text for 30 minutes. I saw you smiling at Madison during dinner. You're still sleeping in the same bed with her. It was relentless and exhausting. Then came the jealousy. One afternoon, Madison came home early from work. Riley happened to be sprawled on the couch, watching Netflix with her legs draped across a pillow I always used. She didn't bother adjusting herself, just gave Madison a smug little smile as she walked in the door. Later that night, Madison pulled me aside in the hallway. Is everything okay between you two? I blinked. What do you mean? She's intense. Like, territorial. Have you noticed? I forced a laugh. She's always been a little intense. Madison nodded slowly. Yeah, but this is different. It's like she doesn't like me being around you. She looked at me, eyes narrowing just slightly. You sure there's nothing going on? I shook my head too quickly. Of course not. She didn't look convinced. But she let it go for now. I went to Riley's room that night. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to keep her calm. I knew if I didn't, she'd spiral. You're mine, she whispered, climbing into my lap. No one else gets you. Not her. Not anyone. I didn't respond. Just let her kiss me, touch me, pull me back into her web. The worst part? A part of me liked it. Being wanted, needed, possessed. I didn't realize how hollow I'd become until someone filled the space. But that didn't make it right. And the walls were starting to close in. One evening, I came home late from a client meeting. Madison was upstairs on a video call with her yoga group. Riley was sitting at the kitchen counter, sipping wine, and I knew the second I walked in that something was off. You didn't text me, she said, swirling the glass. I was in a meeting. You always say that. Because it's true. She stood slowly, stalking toward me. You think I don't see it? You're pulling away again. You're going to leave me, aren't you? Riley, you're going to choose her, even after everything. No one's choosing anything right now. Tears filled her eyes, but her voice stayed cold. I should tell her. Right now? I should just go upstairs and tell her you've been inside me more times this month than you've kissed your own wife. I grabbed her arm. Don't. Then don't make me feel disposable. I'm not trying to, I said, lowering my voice. But we need to be careful. We need to be smart. Her breathing slowed. She stepped into me, pressing her cheek against my chest. Then promise me, she whispered. Promise you won't leave me. I didn't say anything. And that silence said everything. I don't remember when Madison first started looking at me differently. It wasn't anger. Not yet. It was more like a faint narrowing of the eyes, a pause too long when I said I was working late, a slight hesitation before she kissed me goodbye in the morning. She was noticing. Not everything. Not the whole picture, but enough. That week, she started asking questions. Where were you this morning? You left early. Did you forget to do laundry again? Riley mentioned you used the dryer last night. And then, the one that made my stomach twist. Why is Riley always in such a good mood around you? I kept my voice flat, practiced. She's just flirty. You know how she is. Madison's eyes didn't move off mine. She wasn't like that before. Not like this. I forced a smile. You're overthinking. But the thing is, she wasn't. Because Riley was slipping. Getting bold. Reckless. That Thursday, I walked into the living room to find her on the couch in nothing but one of my t-shirts and a pair of underwear, so thin it left nothing to the imagination. Madison was upstairs on a call. Riley didn't move when I entered. Just raised an eyebrow and said, "Miss me?" I hissed at her. Are you crazy? She's home. Riley rolled onto her stomach, arching her back with a grin. You used to like that about me. Be serious. I am, she whispered, eyes sparkling. I'm seriously about to pull you onto this couch and make you forget she even exists. And the thing is, I wanted to. Every cell in my body lit up when she spoke like that. But I knew the edge we were skating on was cracking beneath our feet. Later that night, after Madison fell asleep, I found Riley in the laundry room. She was folding towels in one of my old tank tops. No bra, nipples clearly pressing through the fabric. She didn't even flinch when I walked in. You're trying to get caught, I said. Maybe I want to be caught, she replied. Then you'd have no excuse to keep living this lie. This is not how it works, I hissed. You can't blow up everyone's life because you're tired of sneaking around. You think I want to be a secret? She snapped. You think I like waiting for your wife to fall asleep before I can feel you inside me? Her voice cracked. She dropped the towel, eyes suddenly glassy. I love you, Jake. And every day you go back to her like she deserves you, like she even wants you. Do you know what that feels like? I didn't ask for this, I whispered. Neither did I, she shot back. But here we are. I backed away, feeling the pressure in my chest again. The walls were closing in, and I didn't know how much longer I could pretend. Madison's suspicion reached a boiling point that weekend. Saturday morning, I came downstairs to find her sitting at the dining room table, arms folded, eyes hard. Where were you last night? I blinked. Sleeping. Where? In bed, I lied. She nodded slowly. Funny. I woke up at 3 a.m., and you weren't there. Shit. I went downstairs. Couldn't sleep. For 3 hours? I fell asleep on the couch. Her jaw tightened. Riley said she didn't see you down there. I froze. What? She was getting water. She said the lights were off, and no one was there. I was probably in the study. She checked there too. I didn't answer. Madison stood up. Her voice dropped, low and shaking. Are you cheating on me? There it was. A question with a blade behind it. No, I said, swallowing the truth like poison. She studied me, jaw clenched. Is it her? I didn't breathe. Jake, she said again louder. Is it her? Before I could answer, we heard a door slam upstairs. Madison's head snapped toward the ceiling. And then we both heard it. Riley's voice, raised, angry, sick of hiding like I'm the one who should be ashamed. Then a pause. And then, you said you were going to tell her. Madison's mouth dropped open slightly. She turned back to me, eyes wide. You bastard, she whispered, and ran. I chased her upstairs, heart hammering. She burst into Riley's room and found her sitting on the bed, knees drawn to her chest, tears already streaming. You, Madison gasped, stunned. You're sleeping with my husband? Riley didn't say anything at first, just looked at me, and then nodded. I love him. The room went silent. Madison looked at me, her face breaking open, eyes wide with a betrayal so deep I felt it punch the air from my lungs. You son of a bitch. Madison. She slapped me. Not hard, but not soft either. Riley stood up. He doesn't love you anymore, she said, her voice trembling. He hasn't for a long time. Madison turned on her. Farrell, you think that justifies this? You think I'm the problem? Riley didn't back down. I think you never deserved him, and you took him for granted. You still do. Get out, Madison hissed, trembling. Both of you. Get out. I stood there, in the center of the wreckage I'd built with my own hands, and said the only thing I could. I'm sorry. But the truth was, I didn't know who I was apologizing to, because I didn't know who I wanted anymore. For a long time, none of us spoke. Madison stood in Riley's room, trembling. Her lips were parted like she wanted to scream, cry, hit something, but nothing came. Riley stood frozen beside the bed, naked except for a blanket barely clutched to her chest. And I stood in the doorway, the floor under me feeling less like wood and more like glass ready to shatter. Get out, Madison finally whispered, her voice broken glass. Madison, I started. Don't, she spat, eyes snapping to me. Don't say my name like it means anything anymore. She turned to her sister next. You were supposed to stay for 2 months. That's what you said. And now you're here, in my house, fucking my husband? Riley's jaw clenched. Don't pretend like you loved him. You haven't loved him in years. You don't get to decide that. Madison shouted. You don't get to take the scraps of a marriage and pretend they belong to you. Riley stepped forward, defiant now. Then why were there scraps at all, huh? Why did you stop touching him? Why did you stop looking at him like a husband and treat him like a roommate? Because I was exhausted. Madison's voice cracked, rising higher. From working, from holding up the house, from always being the one to initiate everything. No, I interrupted. You stopped trying long before the job got hard. They both turned on me. Oh, now you have a voice, Madison snapped. I didn't mean for this to happen, I said. But it did, and we can't pretend it didn't. Madison laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. You didn't mean to put your dick in my sister? Stop, I said, but it was pathetic. Empty. Riley stepped beside me. He didn't cheat because of me. He cheated because he was already gone. I just made him feel something again. Madison walked toward me, fists clenched. And you believe that bullshit? That's your justification? I'm not justifying anything, I said. But you and we were already gone, Madison. Tears filled her eyes, but they didn't fall. She was too angry, too betrayed to cry. You coward, she whispered. And then she slapped me again. This time harder. Do you love her? She asked, voice shaking. Tell me, do you love her? I turned to Riley. She looked at me like she already knew the answer. Like she was sure. And in that moment, something strange happened. I realized I didn't. I loved the way Riley made me feel. The attention, the intimacy, the danger. But love? Love was something else. It wasn't built in the shadows, beneath lies and secrets. I looked back at Madison. I don't know what I feel anymore, I admitted. The air left the room. Madison stared at me, chest rising and falling, her expression unreadable now. Like everything inside her had simply shut off. You know what? She finally said. You two deserve each other. She turned to Riley. You think you've won something? All you've done is inherit a broken man who doesn't know what he wants. I know what I don't want, Riley said. And that's to live in a loveless lie like you did. Madison laughed again, sharper this time. Let's see how long that lasts when the fantasy dies and the reality kicks in. She stormed past us both, down the hallway, and into the bedroom. The door slammed. I exhaled for the first time in minutes. Riley looked up at me, hopeful. It's over. We don't have to hide anymore. But instead of feeling relief, I felt hollow. We stood in the hallway for a long time, silent. Then I walked away, not toward Madison, not toward Riley, but downstairs alone. The next morning was pure frost. Madison didn't come down until late. She was dressed, bag in hand, keys already in her grip. I'll be staying at Sarah's, she said, voice flat. You'll be hearing from a lawyer. Madison, we need to talk. She looked at me for 1 second. One long second. There's nothing left to say. She didn't look at Riley. Didn't even acknowledge her. Just walked out. Riley sat on the armrest of the couch, knees drawn up, watching me. She looked different without the seduction. Smaller. Quieter. She's gone, she whispered. We can start fresh. I sat across from her, suddenly tired. And what does that look like? She blinked. What do you mean? I mean, is this really what we want? You and me? Her voice faltered. I thought it was. I leaned forward, elbows on knees. Riley, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't know if what we had was about you, or about me trying to escape something else. Her face fell. So what are you saying? I think I need space. Time to figure out what's left of me. She stood, wrapping her arms around herself. You said you needed me. I did, I said softly. And you were there when I was drowning. But now I need to learn how to breathe again on my own. Riley looked away, eyes glassy. So what happens now? I stood. Now? I pack a bag. I leave this house. I figure out who the hell I am without either of you. She didn't stop me. She didn't say goodbye. I walked out the front door into the sunlight, blinking against it like a man coming up from underwater. And just like that, it was over. I left the house with a single duffel bag slung over my shoulder and a hollow silence pressing against my ribs. No dramatic scene. No last words. Just the low creak of the door as I stepped into the early morning haze. Riley watching me from the front window, eyes unreadable. She didn't come out. I didn't turn back. I drove without direction for hours. Not to a friend's. Not to a hotel. I just needed motion, something to outrun the ache. The guilt. The confusion. By noon, I was parked outside a dusty roadside motel 2 towns over. The kind with flickering neon signs and a vending machine that only worked if you kicked it. It was perfect. I paid cash. Checked in under a name that wasn't mine. Threw my bag on the bed and stared at the ceiling fan until night fell. That first night alone was both excruciating and relieving. No footsteps in the hallway. No Riley slipping into my room like a secret. No Madison sleeping 3 feet away but 1,000 miles apart. Just me, alone with the truth I'd been dodging for months. I had ruined everything. But maybe, just maybe, it was the only way to set myself free. The divorce papers arrived within a week. Madison didn't waste time. She had hired a lawyer fast. Efficient. Brutal. The kind of attorney who didn't mince words or care about emotional nuance. The paperwork was clean. Division of property. No alimony. No drawn-out mediation. We had no kids, thank God, and the house was in her name. I signed everything. No fight. No excuses. She included a note. You don't have to call. I don't want to hear your voice again. I just want peace. Please give me that much. It hit me harder than I expected. Not because I wanted her back, but because I finally understood the depth of the damage. I had hollowed out our marriage long before Riley ever slipped into my bed. I had become someone I didn't recognize. And now, the only woman I'd ever built a life with didn't even want to hear me again. I didn't respond. That was the first real gift I gave her. Riley texted me a few times after I left. I miss you. When are we going to talk? You can't just disappear. Then a longer message. I know things got messy, but I meant it when I said I loved you. I still love you. Please don't shut me out. I was the only one who saw you for who you really are. She wasn't wrong, but that was the problem. She saw me at my lowest. Desired me when I was fractured. Needed me when I couldn't even stand on my own. And I knew, in my bones, that staying with her now would only keep me tied to that broken version of myself. I couldn't rebuild my life in the same rubble I had helped create. I didn't text her back. Not once. I got a small apartment on the edge of town. 1 bedroom. Nothing fancy. I bought a second-hand couch, a mattress on sale, and a coffee maker that made terrible coffee. It was mine. It was quiet. It was a place to disappear and reassemble. I started running again. Not just as a workout, but as therapy. I ran through trails. Through suburbs. Sometimes through the rain, punishing my legs until my lungs burned and my mind went blissfully blank. It was the only time I felt okay. I started journaling. Therapy sessions. Cleaned up my diet. Cut back on drinking. I relearned how to sleep alone, eat alone, exist alone without needing someone else's eyes to validate me. For the first time in years. I wasn't a husband. Wasn't a lover. Wasn't anyone's secret. I was just Jake. And that had to be enough. 3 months after the divorce finalized, I ran into Madison at the grocery store. It was a Saturday morning. She was walking out of the bakery section with a paper bag of croissants, her hair in a bun, sunglasses perched in her hair. She looked lighter, calmer. She saw me before I saw her. We locked eyes. Her jaw didn't tighten. She didn't flinch. She just nodded. I gave a small wave, and we passed each other without a word. Somewhere in that silence, I felt peace. Not forgiveness, not closure, but peace. She looked okay. I hoped she was. I hoped I was too. Riley never tried to find me. I think she finally got the message. Or maybe she just realized I wasn't who she thought I was. Maybe she moved on. Maybe she still dreams of me the way I sometimes dream of her. Nights where I wake up sweating, unsure whether I miss her or just miss feeling wanted. But I don't regret leaving. Not anymore. Because the only way forward was through the fire. And I had finally made it out the other side. It started, as most unexpected things do, on an ordinary Tuesday. I had just wrapped up a design pitch at the small creative firm I'd joined 2 months prior. The kind of job that didn't ask too many questions about your past, just wanted to see if you could deliver. I liked it there, quiet desks, no office drama, just the steady rhythm of work and coffee breaks. Her name was Anna. She was new to the team. UX strategist. Quiet, soft-spoken, confident in a way that didn't need to announce itself. Our first conversation was about the printer being jammed. Our second was about lunch orders. The third was different. She caught me alone in the break room, staring out the window with a blank look on my face. "You look like you're somewhere else," she said, handing me a coffee. "I usually am," I admitted, accepting it. "Anywhere good?" I took a sip. It was the first time in months I didn't feel the need to lie. "Used to be," I said. "Now I'm trying to figure out what good even looks like." She nodded, understanding more than I expected. "You divorced?" I blinked. "How'd you guess?" She smiled. "It's in the eyes. My ex-husband used to look the same way in the mirror after we split." We sat together at lunch that day, and again the next day, and again the one after that. There was no chase, no drama, no tangled sheets filled with guilt and heat. Just slow conversations about books, music, childhood regrets. She didn't flirt hard. She didn't push. She just showed up, fully present. It scared me how easy it felt. But it also gave me a glimpse of something I hadn't let myself hope for again: peace. We didn't start dating right away. Weeks passed before I even asked her out. "I'm not great at relationships," I confessed over dinner. She smiled into her wine. "Neither am I. But maybe we can be not great together." She didn't pry into my past. I told her pieces when I was ready. I didn't sugarcoat it. I cheated, I told her one night. With my wife's sister. She blinked, but didn't flinch. "Do you regret it?" "Yes," I said. "And no." I explained the numbness. The loneliness. The way the affair wasn't about sex. It was about feeling something after feeling nothing for years. "I wasn't proud of it," I said. "But I've made peace with the man who did it." She reached across the table and touched my hand. "Then I want to meet that man." That night, I slept better than I had in months. Anna never filled a void. She didn't complete me. She didn't save me. She just chose me. Without games. Without neediness. Without the desperation I had grown used to. And in doing so, she reminded me what real love might actually look like. Choosing someone. Not because you need them to fix you, but because being with them makes you want to keep fixing yourself. Riley had made me feel alive. Madison had made me feel stable. But Anna made me feel whole. And she never once asked me to be anyone but who I was, scars and all. I haven't seen Riley in over a year. She never reached out again, and neither did I. I sometimes wonder where she is. If she ever found someone who loved her back. If she ever figured out how to be something more than the other woman. Madison and I never spoke again, either. Our divorce was the last sentence in a story neither of us had the strength to keep writing. I hope she's happy. I hope she found someone who matched her pace. But me? I'm finally breathing. Anna and I live in a small apartment filled with plants and secondhand furniture. We take walks after work. We fight sometimes, about dishes or bills or the thermostat, but it's never cruel. It's never cold. And when I lie beside her at night, she wraps her legs around mine and whispers, "You're here." That's all I need. Not a fantasy, not a secret, just here. And that's more than I ever thought I'd deserve.